Hi, everybody. I'm Alyssa Neighbors, and I am a high school technology teacher in Dallas, Texas. And this is my son, David. We are reshooting the first in a series of live stream tutorials for other tech teachers in the area to give some new ideas of things that you can use in the classroom that are mostly free. This is sponsored by the meetup group DFW Tech Teachers. If you'd like to know more about DFW Tech Teachers, please go to dfwtechteachers.com. And whether you're a teacher, an industry rep, somebody who's just interested in learning how to code, or a parent of a kid that wants to learn how to code, thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Today we're going to be working with Scratch, which is a block language and interface developed by MIT. It's very, very easy to use. You don't have to have any previous coding experience. And it's sophisticated enough that if you do have previous coding experience, you'll be able to do really sophisticated programs very quickly. To me, it's sort of like learning how to play a really easy video game like Pac-Man before you start taking on something more advanced. Because once you've figured out that up is usually up and what's usually jump, that sort of thing, with a simple video game, you're ready to move on to a harder video game, and and you'll die a lot less. So similarly, Scratch is a really easy programming language, and once you've mastered it, you can move on to more complex programming languages, more sophisticated ones, and you'll have a lot less frustration as you're learning what's what, because Scratch covers all your basics. So let's get started. This is Scratch right here. You'll be able to create and remix other people's games and programs as much as you want. But if you want to save or share your own work, you will have to make an account. You can see that I'm signed in right up here. And anytime you make something new, you will see this little guy right in the middle. That is your default sprite. You have a blank stage. And you have a library of different commands that you can use. So your code goes either here in this staging area, or you can even add code to the backdrop itself, depending on what you'd like your program to do. Okay, David. Sorry, this may be interspersed with me calming a fussy 4-month-old. So one of the most basic things you can do is you can tell your sprites, whether you want that to be a cat or whether you want to pick from their library of sprites. You can tell it how to move. So if we say move 10 steps, I can click this to make it happen. The cat moves 10 steps. One of the first things you'll learn is that if you have him move too far, he'll just straight up leave. And once he's off the stage, it's kind of hard to get him back. So what we can do is add an if on edge bounce. So now every time I do this, it's going to do a check to see if the cat's on the edge. So if I put him a little bit closer and click, 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 then he bounces. You'll also notice that he turned upside down, which is not necessarily something that you want. Sorry, we lost a pacifier. Men down. There it is. Okay. So to keep him from going upside down, what you can do is check out this little information button right here and change his rotation style. so that he just reflects back and forth. So now, if he bounces into that edge, he's just going to turn around. So we've written some code that hypothetically could make this little guy walk back and forth across the stage forever. Except it doesn't. I have to either click this code to activate it or nothing happens. Even if I click this little green flag, we got nothing. Because the second most important menu is going to be events. If you want anything to happen, you have to tell your code when to make it happen. So now, when the flag is clicked, which is slightly better than having to click the code itself. I know, it's still not great. So what we want to look at next is not just finding some way to make this happen. I can do it when that's clicked. I can do it when the space key is pressed. Now you can hear me hitting my space bar. But that's not really what I want. I want him to move by himself. So we look at the control menu, and we've got a couple of different loops. We've got a repeat loop, which we could try out here. Uh-oh. Or we've got a forever loop right here. And now we've got a guy that will literally walk back and forth until we shut this program down. So already you've handled, if you're working on this with a kid, you've got the opportunity to teach them about sequence. You've got the opportunity to teach them about loops. And about how computers will follow instructions really explicitly. It'll only do exactly what you tell it to. And if you don't tell it when to move this forever, then it won't. You've also got if and else. If you move over to sensing, you've got built-in blocks that will check for certain colors, see if it's touching the mouse pointer, opportunity to ask for inputs, to look for certain keys to be pressed, for the mouse X and the mouse Y to have certain values. You'll notice that anything that has pointy edges, that is going to be something that goes inside an if. Anything that's got round edges, that's going to be a variable. So the mouse X, the mouse Y are variables. The loudness, current value of the loudness is a variable. Yes, it is. And anything that has more rectangular edges, that is a specific command by itself. And anything that's in a white box, you can get in there and change. So you've got lots of different things to work with. Everything on this side is a little bit more focused on your traditional kinds of programming commands, if else, loops, that kind of thing, event sensing. When the sprite is clicked, when the backdrop switches, that kind of thing. Over here, it's going to be things like specific commands for motion, changing costumes. Every sprite that is in the library comes with at least 2 costumes so that you can make it look like it's animated by switching back and forth. You can change the color. You can add sounds. And there is the pen option so that you can actually have a lot of built-in commands for people to doodle on the screen, or if you want to have your characters have some sort of trail. And then you have data, which you can make your own variables and collections of variables, which is, again, more of your standard coding type stuff. So what we're going to be looking at today is a choose your own adventure game that I've been working on. If you would like to go here, you do not have to have this really complicated URL. You can just go to tinyurl.com/scratch CYOA. It's also in the description of the video. And you'll be able to go right to this page where if you click the flag right here, and let me zoom in a little bit if I can. There we go. Okay, so the princess has asked, should she go to the castle or the forest? If we tell her the moon, she'll just ask again. So if we say castle, and we'll be presented with a little bit more of the story. And as you can see, this is as far as the story has gotten in this direction. This actually was not hard to code. When you click see inside, you'll be able to see all of my code blocks so far. They're a little bit on top of each other because there are kind of a lot of them. And this is really why you want to go and open up the code for yourself, whether you're going to do that later on or whether you're going to follow along with me, because it's kind of hard to see even when I'm zoomed in. Hold on just a second. We lost our pacifier again. It's okay, bud. Oh, good. It went behind the computer. Yeah, just get really familiar with the code on that screen. This is incredibly intentional. Ugh. Okay. So you can see over here that I don't just have if and else. I also have a block called repeat until that checks to make sure that the answer that I'm given is either of the choices that I offered and not something else, which would gum up the works. And then once I've gotten that answer, I use the broadcast event command so that I can break up my code into smaller pieces, just like breaking up code into methods in something more advanced like Java or C++. So the very first thing that happens is I make sure that she's showing. I set this crown variable to 0, and I go to a specific place on the screen. And I've changed her costume not in color, but in size, so that when she goes to certain landscapes, she looks like she still fits. Then I have her think a couple things. You know, this is how I'm telling my story with this think command. And then she asks the question, and we broadcast either castle or forest. And then we've got really similar code blocks for the next couple of choices. The place that this really diverts is if she chooses to go to the forest and then take the low path. So I'll show you what that looks like in the game. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit more. Nope, that's as far as we go. Okay. All right. So she forgot her lucky crown. By the way, testing this will kind of get tedious if you decide to make your own, but stick with it and you end up with something pretty cool. So she's wondering whether to take the high or the low path. We take the low path. Frog sets hello. And the princess asked if the frog just talked. Now you'll see that the frog does not have very many scripts at all. In fact, when the flag is clicked, all we do with the frog is hide it. He doesn't get to show up until we get that low signal. That's his first scene. So if we tell her, no, the frog didn't talk, the story's over. Because if the princess doesn't talk to the frog, then we don't have a Princess and the Frog story. Sorry, David is very enthusiastic about this part of the story. So you'll notice that the princess, when she gets the low command, it looks pretty standard, except that she's either broadcasting yes frog or no frog. And if she gets no frog, then she's got a set of look and motion commands, and then she's hidden. So she leaves the screen and then we hide her. The frog also looks for the no frog command, waits while she talks and does her stuff, and then gets to say some things and then broadcasts a new signal, the end. When he receives the end, he hides. And if you look at the stage code, anytime there is a signal broadcast, the stage knows which backdrop to change, or for most signals. So when it gets the end, it switches to, and this actually is another cool part of Scratch, because most of these I got from free clip art places, Pixelbay, or from the Scratch library. You can access down here underneath New Backdrop. But I can also make just a blank one and there's paint tools that will allow me to type, fill in color, scribble around, whatever I want to do. So that's how I made the end backdrop. Could also modify any of these using that same tool. So let me code a little bit of new stuff just so that I can show you what that looks like. So let's say that we've chosen to take the princess to the castle and to the ballroom. And we will just, she's still hiding because the last script that she experienced told her to hide. So if I just grab a show block and click it, there she is. Actually, what I could do is, instead of clicking that show block, I could just click the when I receive ballroom. And there she is. Now she is pointing to the left because that was part of her commands over here, because she was going to walk to the left and be off there. So if I want to make sure that no matter where she's coming from, she is looking the way that I want her to look, I'm going to point her in direction 90. And you don't have to remember the numerical value for up, down, left, or right, because when you click the little drop down menu, it's right there for you. So I'm going to have her point to the right because I think I'm going to add a new sprite. I'm going to add a ballerina. So since I don't want the ballerina to be with her all the time, when the flag gets clicked and I start the game, I want to make sure that the ballerina is hidden. And I only want her to show up when we've got the signal that we're going to start the ballroom scene. So then she can show herself. And the really nice thing is if I just drag her wherever I think she should be on the screen, then this go to X and Y will automatically fill out with her current position. So if I click that, she didn't even move. But if I moved her over here and then I clicked it again, there you go. So let's try that from the beginning. No ballerina, awesome. We're gonna get our first choice, castle or forest. We're gonna say castle. Princess is standing on the steps of the castle. She wonders if she should go to her bedroom or the ballroom. I'm gonna go to the ballroom, and there she is with the ballerina, and she is facing toward the ballerina so they can have a conversation, and that's really nice. So even when you're working with just really small kids, a really easy thing for them to practice when they're thinking about the procedure that a program needs to have and how carefully timed the steps need to be or carefully ordered they need to be, having two characters interact with each other is a really great way to practice that, because let's have the ballerina and the princess say hello. Let's, for example, have the princess say, see, we're going to look at the ballroom. I'm going to say, hello. Have you seen my crown? Sorry if my keyboard's super loud. Not, I actually love it. Sorry if my son is super loud. And then we're going to have the ballerina say, hello. No, I haven't seen any crowns here. Okay. So when we play again really quickly, unfortunately, this is the only way to make sure that everybody's getting the same signal at the same time, just like they would when they're playing the game. Okay, and they're talking over each other, and there's no way to go back. One thing that you can do is under the control, there's a wait. And wait is really helpful for creating that dialogue. Princess is going to speak first, but she should wait 2 seconds for each one. Okay, so play again. Forgot my lucky crown. Should I go castle or forest? Castle. Maybe I left my crown in my room. Maybe it's in the ballroom. Go to the ballroom. Princess says hello. Ballerina says hello. Have you seen my crown? No, I haven't seen any crowns. Okay, so there's not really a choice at the end of this one, but it's not the end either. So the princess can say, okay, thank you. And then she can think, and the big difference between say and think, as I'm sure you've noticed, is speech bubble versus thought bubble. I guess I will go look in my bedroom. Okay, and then we can go ahead and broadcast the same signal as we would have if she had chosen the bedroom in the first place. We do need to go back to the ballerina and have her wait. Let's see, the princess said and thought for 4 more seconds, so we have her wait 4 seconds, and then we have her hide again. Okay. So when we do that, and we pick the castle, and we pick the ballroom. Hello, hello. Have you seen my crown? No, I haven't seen any crowns. Oh, and there you go. It's a great way to make sure that you didn't make any typos. And she goes straight to her bedroom because we've already got the code for going to the bedroom in the stage. We can fix the typo here. I haven't seen any crowns in here, which is what we really want to say. And then, this is the fun part. Ooh. Oh, there we go. When I receive bedroom. She receives bedroom. We've already got the place where she's going to start. And she can say, oh, here's my crown. And if we wanted, we could even change her costume, draw a little crown on her, but I'm not going to do that. But I am going to change the crown. I set the crown to 1. So I have this numerical variable. You can only have numerical variables unless you're talking about the answer that people are typing in that's already pre-programmed. So set the crown to 1, and then we can reuse a signal again and broadcast forest. Okay? So now we've sort of closed off this end of the choices, because if she goes to the castle, goes to the ballroom, she's going to be redirected to her bedroom. If she goes to her bedroom, oh, here's my crown. Okay, wait. So this is why it's important to test, because something happened. Oh, because she only said it for 2 seconds and then boom, she was gone. All right. So one thing that I might add in, because that seemed really abrupt, is that I can say, now I can go on my walk. And then I might even throw in a wait for a second, just for kicks. Now we'll see how that looks. Okay, now we've gone back to the forest, to her original choice. And we're going to take the low path. We're going to leave the high path work for now. And we're going to say, yes, the frog talked. But if we look at the yes frog signal, it checks to see if it checks to see what the value of crown is. If it's 0, then it's going to broadcast no crown. If it's anything other than 0, it's going to broadcast yes crown. So why this is important is the story that this is based on, Princess and the Frog. The princess drops something into the pond and the frog gets it for her. That's how it usually works. So in this case, if the princess doesn't have her crown, then in this game, she's got nothing to drop, and we're going to have, you know, another potential ending. We can either choose to have another broadcast for the end, or we can choose to do something a little bit more complicated and give her the option of going back and looking for her crown. Instead of messing around with no crown, we're going to check out yes crown. We're going to see what happens when we broadcast yes crown. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to right click in the middle of the empty space. Should be able to right click in the middle of the empty space. It's not working. Usually there's an option to clean up, which is really nice. Gets everything all lined up and orderly where it's easier to look at, but we can't do that right now. So, you know, it's just something to keep in mind when you're working on it yourself and you don't want all these blocks in your face. So we're going to grab a when I receive yes crown. I'm going to tell her, let's say, wow, I've never met a talking frog. And maybe she's gonna take a couple of steps forward. You know what? Instead of having her move 10 steps, I'm gonna just have her glide. I'm gonna have her glide to, let's see, when we start this scene, she's at, what is that? When we start the low scene, she's at -185.0. So I'm going to have her glide to, let's see, right is positive. So let's have her glide to -165.0. Let's see what that looks like. And then maybe I'll have her tilt a little bit. Maybe not 15 degrees, maybe more like 5 degrees. Okay. Nope, that didn't work. What I wanted to do was have her rotate slightly forward so that it would look like she was tripping. What I could do is I can change her rotation style just briefly to all around and then see if that turn will work. Yep, that works. And then we just have her turn back, set the rotation style again, back to left, right, so that next time she's got a turn, she will reflect instead of going upside down in some weird scene. And then she can say something like, oh no, I dropped my crown. Drop that, and it's another good chance to check for typos. And now we can go to the frog, or rather we can go here and broadcast a new message. We can broadcast dropped crown. What I'm using to name all of these is something called camelcase, which is a naming convention in Java and a couple of other languages where you don't use spaces. You just capitalize the next word and they're all squished together like that. It's sort of like a hashtag. And now when the frog gets dropped crown, he can say, should I help the princess? And then we're going to go back to sensing. Nope, control first, my bad. We're going to repeat until. This is what keeps our code safe from anybody that might or give a silly answer. We want to make sure that we only have one of two answers. So you pick this or, got two more slots. Then we want to say, we only want to do this if answer is, and now we can just type the word, yes or no. And we should ask the same question over and over again until that is the case. So, yes or no. And then we grab an if statement, if else, because we want to see operators. That's where we want to be. Actually, we can just grab this and right click, and the right click isn't working because everything's terrible. You can right click and duplicate things, which makes a lot of stuff faster, especially when you're doing sort of repetitive commands. So if answer is yes, then we would broadcast a new message that said, yes, help. Or if they said no, then we would say no help. And because of that, repeat until we know that those are the only two answers that will let people move forward in the game. Otherwise, they'll be stuck on that prompt forever. And then if the frog chooses not to help, actually, we can actually just broadcast no frog for that. Oh, no. No, we can't, because then the princess will get it. Okay, so it has to be no help. And when we receive it, no help, no help. We're almost done. When I receive no help, then wait a second. And this is where I would really love my right click to be working so that I could copy some stuff. And then ow. That was just the bottom of my desk. And then we can broadcast the end. Okay. So let's see what that looks like. And she's tilted. I knew it. Stop. Stop that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this really quickly by changing her style to all around. And then I'm going to tilt her backwards 15 degrees. It really helps when teaching this kind of stuff to not have a crying baby in your lap. Okay. And I think he's hungry. So it's good that we're almost done. All right. All right, we're just going to do this with a crooked princess and see how it goes. All right. Okay, we're going to go to the forest. We're going to take the low path. There we go. Oh, yes, the frog talked. Somehow the frog has become... Oh, okay. That's dumb. Okay. All right, so now the frog is back to normal. And let's go to the princess. She's normal. Okay. All right. You should go to the forest. You should go to the low path. Yes. Okay, nothing's happening when we type yes. So now we need to go back and figure out what we did wrong. If crown is 0, it's because we didn't go get the crown. Okay. So we need to go get the crown. This is why it's important to test and also to maybe make a map when you're doing a choose your own adventure of all the different scenes and possibilities. So we're going to go to the castle first. Nothing happened because she didn't have the crown. Okay, so we're going to look in the bedroom. Oh, here's my crown. I can go on my walk. Okay. Just going to take the low path. All right. Yes, the frog talked. And... Oh. So since our last answer was yes, so answer is still yes. Okay. One way to get around this sort of kerfuffle is to, while you're testing, show answer. And you can also do that with your other variables if you want. So currently the answer is yes. So it just skipped that. So what we need to do in some cases, and probably just any time, probably just be good to have a standard set of code that we did this with. Probably just want to say, well, we either can't have a yes or a no in a row, or let's see. All right, so we're going to put that back in there. Okay, so I'm going to give him a little bit more dialogue. And when you've got long dialogue, it's sometimes better to break it up into 2 different commands. So I'm going to throw another think down there. And then we want to repeat until they say either help or not. All right, so we're going to try this from the beginning, but we're going to leave our variables up here just so that we're aware of what's going on. So crown is 0. Answer is nothing yet. So we should go to the castle. Enters castle now. We're going to look in the bedroom. So now enters bedroom, and crown changes by 1. There we go. So now it's a low. The frog did just talk. Help or not. We're going to say not. Okay, and here we've got another problem that we know of. The princess was automatically hidden before we broadcast the end with a last ending. So we know that the last thing we need to do is for the princess's code, when she receives the end, no matter what, she should hide. Okay, and then we can go back to data and to sensing and get rid of those, because now we've got 2 complete endings for our story. But David really wants to know what happens next. That's up to you. I'll work on this when I have time. Remember, if you want to check this out, you can go to tinyurl.com/scratch CYOA, and you will see this exact code completely up to date to the end of this video, and you can remix it and make it your own. You can change the sprites, anything that you want. Have fun with it. So that's it for our first tutorial of the summer. Hopefully we'll be able to do a couple more of these before school gets back in session. You can see that Scratch has a lot of opportunities for teaching the basic building blocks of programming, almost literally, if else, loops, using different events to trigger different sets of code. And you can see that even for your really advanced kids, this will provide a lot of opportunities for exploration and customization. It will not at all be limiting to any kid who thinks that they're above block coding. I still have a lot of fun with it. I hope that you enjoyed learning about it. If you would like to check out our meetup group, please look us up. We are DFW Tech Teachers on meetup.com. You can also find us at dfwtechteachers.com. If you're interested in helping out with the meetup group or with participating in one of these live streams as an instructor, please drop me a line. I'm on Twitter at WebTechNeighbors, or you can find me through the meetup group. We're going to leave this up on YouTube. So if you'd like to share this with a fellow teacher, with a friend, or with one of your students, please feel free. And we will see you next time. Me and David.